you always strive for the masterpiece, but you don't really design the masterpiece. So it's got to be happen naturally. So if it's in fact, the best work I've done, there was experimental work. It just happens to be really great, even in my eyes. I'm like, wow, that looks really not bad, because it feels there is a freedom over there of execution. Tightness is gone because it's experimental. And so for yourself, you didn't really design it for the exhibition or anything. And there is that freedom and immediacy somehow translate into interesting work.
Welcome to the BoldBrush Show, where we believe that fortune favors the bold brush. My name is Laura Orengo-Bayer, and I'm your host. For those of you who are new to the podcast, we are a podcast that covers art marketing techniques and all sorts of business tips specifically to help artists learn to better sell their work. We interview artists at all stages of their careers, as well as others who are in careers tied to the art world in order to hear their advice and insights. On today's episode, we sat down with Vladislav Yeliseyev, a watercolor and plein air artist who emphasizes the importance of capturing the natural beauty of a place and evoking a particular mood or emotion in the viewer. He tells us about his artistic journey, including his education in fine arts and architecture at the Moscow Architectural Institute. He also explains the difference between craft and fine art, why travel can really broaden your horizons both literally and figuratively as an artist, and how experimentation can lead to a masterpiece thanks to the liberation of expression. He also reminds us that developing your unique style is like developing your own unique handwriting. It happens with time and repetition and isn't forced. Finally, he tells us about his awesome online courses and workshops and incredible upcoming painting cruise workshop through the Italian Riviera and France. Welcome, Vlad, to the BoldBrush Show. How are you today?
Thank you for inviting me. I'm doing just great, and I'm looking forward for this interview, Laura, with you.
Yeah, me too. I absolutely love your work. I am a huge fan of architecture. I actually studied architecture briefly, and I have never been able to fully, leave it behind because there's just so much beauty in classical architecture, and I think your work definitely brings life to those buildings, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura.
I could look at them all day. You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you. And it's nice talking. It is nice talking to an architect too.
Yes. And it's a lot easier to also understand all the technical stuff. But before we dive into your beautiful work, do you mind telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay. Who am I? I'm going by name Vlad, and that name is very common in Russia. In Soviet Union, actually, I was born in Moscow when it was Soviet Union, and then when I left the country for United States, it was still Soviet Union. Believe it or not, it was that long time ago. It was 1989. I graduated from Moscow Institute of Architecture, and the reason actually I become an architect because it has a very good, you won't believe it, drawing school. I didn't actually wanted to be an architect. I never looked into possibility of being an architect. But when I talked to the professional artists in Moscow at the time, before my high education, they said that I have to probably go to St. Petersburg to Academy of Art. And I said, I just do not see myself in that northern city and the dorm room, which is run by I don't know who. And I say, is there anything in Moscow I can I can stay with? And they said, you know what, Vlad, this is Moscow Institute of Architecture, because the drawing school of division there used to be part of St. Petersburg Academy of Art, and traditions are staying. It's academic, it's very thorough, and you are going to draw like a god, they said. And that is a foundation for everything in visual arts you're going to do in the future if you don't want to be an architect.
Yeah. Wow, that is so interesting. I actually was going to
It
ask you
is.
if you went to the Imperial Academy because I know that the Imperial Academy in St. Petersburg, their their drawings are incredible and they also have a very strong foundation, which I thought your work really has as well. So I'm very wow, that's so cool. So I guess now
It
everyone knows
is.
if they want to study in Moscow instead of St. Petersburg, they can go there. That's
Right. And
amazing.
And Lauren, before that, before I entered Moscow Institute of Architecture, which is like in our American terms would be like a high education, right? I graduated from before that. I graduated from two schools. It was a regular high school, and at nights I was visiting art school. So since maybe 12-year-old, fifth grade, I entered the art school, and all my education, initial one, the basic one, the foundation was actually not in architecture, but in fine arts, including history of art, blah, blah, and all that stuff. So that's what I wanted to continue in this area. And so Moscow Institute of Architecture is a continuation of my artistic journey.
Yeah, that is so amazing. And, I think it worked out too because, like I was saying earlier, your paintings with all of these gorgeous buildings, they are breathtaking. Like, you can
Thank
tell that
you.
you're welcome. You can tell that there is definitely an understanding and a knowledge of architecture on top of like the understanding and knowledge of painting and value and organization of color and everything that you need to make a beautiful image, which you have mastered for sure. Um,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Do you find that studying architecture had an effect on your work?
Absolutely, absolutely. First of all, they really teach you how to use the dreadful word perspective, which is now comes naturally. And I'm a teacher now. I teach workshops. I travel a lot, and I see how much trouble this aspect of drawing actually brings to my student. So I will always find time to teach a little bit and crush them into the perspective thing, because it really simplifies so much in your drawing. The problem which I see, I see the work of architectural architects, which are trying to move into fine art area, is that they're a little bit too accurate in terms of the architecture. And the art of being an architect and an artist includes a possibility and ability to actually fudge it in the way you like it, without resorting to this dry academic presentation. And that is, I think, is very important. And I talk to many architects who sign up for my workshops. They said, Vlad, we are just signing up because we want to loosen up. And that is an area where I'm trying to help people to
Right.
move forward.
Yeah, because it is true that, the academic, architectural drawings, they can be very beautiful, but like you said, they are definitely very dry, very here it is. There's no mystery. There's no narrative behind it. So it's really wonderful that,
Absolutely.
yeah, and you can guide
And
these other architects.
you know why academic drawings are so dry?
Why?
Because the drawing is actually not art, it's craft.
Ah, oh my gosh. Yeah,
The
that's a
drawing
great
by
point.
itself, perspective, composition, and proportions, the way you learn it is craft. And that is
Right.
actually a great thing I'm telling to my students, because everybody can master it. Everybody. You don't need really talent for that. And that is really,
Yeah.
really worth exploring.
Wow. Yeah, and you know what? That also makes a great point that when you have the craft of drawing so well, it's very easy to go from there into learning to express yourself. Which brings me
Exactly.
actually to our
Mhm.
next question, which is how do you personally find inspiration? And what do you look for? And how would you recommend someone to find their own inspiration?
That is good topic, Laura. This is really difficult one even to answer. Inspiration, it is something which lives within you. And I try to travel a lot to get that inspiration, seeing new things. And actually, I travel and teach in the areas which are sometimes not that common. We explored Croatia. We explored a different country like Czech Republic, villages over there, which is not very common for artists to visit, just for me to look and be inspired by the scenery, by different type of architecture, different light, which is very different in different parts of the globe, by the way. And if you've been in Rome, for instance, have you been in Rome, of course, Laura?
Yes.
Did you notice the quality of light over there is different? And sometimes you just next morning or day, you outdoors, and then you being bombarded with these all reflections, luminous light on the buildings, on water, on different elements, and that's actually inspires me. And that is actually in every different painting, I try to reflect something different. I see the danger in my art is falling into trap of exploiting my manner of painting. I try to uncover rather a different scenery depth in it. Let's say my painting from the, like on the right, like Bruges of me, it's my left. It's one type of painting with one type of brush technique. The Venice is a little bit different, right behind me, right here. And the black and white painting on the top is also, it's all of them should be executed differently according to the scenery you're trying to reflect. And that difference is an inspiration. Something new you discover in a scenery will guide you into the way you should paint it. Should it be transparent? Should it be heavy? Should it be this and that approach? It is different. And by the way, that classical education, I think, gives you ability to give you so many tools at your disposal that you can exercise different approaches without resorting to repeating yourself in each of them. Now, what inspires me? Traveling.
Yeah.
Traveling
Wow.
inspires me a lot.
Yeah, and then wow, you make such a great point too with the, every place that you see and visit has its own personality, right? And you have to pay homage to it within the work and the way that you paint it. And what's interesting too is that just in seeing those paintings, I can still tell that they're yours, right? There's no like, one is so different that it couldn't be yours type of thing, which sometimes does happen, especially when, the craft it becomes too high and the artistic expression becomes too low. So I absolutely love that. And I love that painting of Bruges. It is so misty and you can feel like you're really there. And it's like you feel the humidity, which I love.
And Laura, let me just add to this that many people told me that they recognize my painting, but I don't recognize mine, and that is actually puzzling. And so, my advice would be to people who watching us and that do not chase that style of painting, especially if it's somebody else which you like. I think everybody had to develop their own, and that is only by repetition, only just like trying to express your own ideas. That will happen automatically. It's not something which is you develop. It's just like I think, Laura, if you look at the handwriting, every single person of us has a different handwriting. And if you will try to copy somebody else's handwriting, I don't think it's going to be very pretty, right?
No, and I was gonna bring up the same exact example of handwriting, because as children, like maybe we do learn our ABCs, maybe we learn actually cursive, which I tend to use much more than regular handwriting. And over time, it does take its own shape and then it becomes recognizable. So it is very much that repetition.
And it
Yeah.
happens naturally, right?
It does, yes, because your anatomy, you have a certain way that you have to be comfortable with,
Exactly.
writing. So yeah, that's such a wonderful point to make. And it also takes the pressure off. There's so many people out there trying so hard to find their style, trying to try something new that maybe doesn't even come naturally to them. So it's wonderful advice to just say, just keep repeating, just keep going, and it'll come out on its own. Perfect.
It will,
Perfect
definitely
advice.
will.
Yes. Yeah. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring up that I absolutely love is that you mentioned in one of your either one of your blog posts, I think, yeah, one of your blog posts that you take a lot of inspiration actually from the less traveled alleyways and the more discreet areas of especially popular locations, like for example, Rome. Like you
Hmm.
mentioned that you like staying away from the fountains, for example, because they're already, a work of art on its own. So there's no point in recreating it.
Hmm.
And you also mentioned in that article that I absolutely loved is to also tell your students to seek out those places that inspire them as well, which is really, it's all you can really do. But why would you pick the alleyways instead of, the quote unquote prettier areas?
Well, I think that alleyways, in a way, more natural to the character, and they're more common for the folks who lives there.
Yeah.
If you look at the art of the great masters in the museums, you rarely see landmarks there. All
Mm.
these places they depict are typical places. I'm not saying like alleyways with dumpsters in them, one on top of another, which actually happening all the time with me in my group.
Oh,
In a place right now, right behind us could be a dumpster. It's
oh.
not really nice smell and everything, but the view, my God, view, and that also sometimes I'm not looking for alleyways. I'm looking for the views which are reflect true nature of the scenery I'm trying to depict. And as I said, like Eiffel Tower or some it's just not really typical. It's a landmark. It's a touristy places. Though those places are very clean, they are very polished, they are very I don't know. There is a kind of comfortable and this, but that's not the like folks in Paris seen every time. And the Parisian person, I would say, if I would live in Paris, right, for instance, for a couple of years, 3 years, then I can call myself like or almost like Parisian, and I walk the streets. Hey, I'm going to buy my my bread. I'm going to the store. I'm going to the to do this and this. I'm going to guests. I'm not looking at Eiffel Tower anymore.
No, that's
It's
very
just
true.
there. I have no really reason to look at it. I'm not the tourist. And that's what areas I'm looking for, the natural places, which are really
Mhm.
significant for the each and every town and city to depict in my paintings. I would like to uncover also the look and the view at the scenery, which is a discovery somewhat. Not like what people would expect from you, but I would like to find something which opens their eyes. Look, you never looked at it, but look how beautiful it is. It's simple, unpretentious, and at the same time, people are sort of moved by it with a sense of being there, which is, by the way, only fine art can deliver, as opposed to decorative art, which is all different target kind of things to decorate your home, which is wonderful thing. But the fine art, I think, is like a look into the depths of the scenery and give a mood of it. And that is very, very important, I think, for me personally, because I decided that I'm trying to do fine art, which is more than meets the eye
Yes.
in the painting.
Definitely, yes. I like to compare, fine art to writing a novel or poetry because it goes beyond just, like a dictionary, for example, right? A dictionary just tells you the
Right.
meaning of things and this is what it is and that's it.
Hmm.
But with painting, we're
Yep.
always striving to create something more. Of course, like you said, decorative art is still beautiful and it still has its purpose. It still has its its collectors and the people who prefer it. But of course, with fine art, we have a different target audience and we have a different way of reaching out to our ideal collectors. Which brings me actually to a couple marketing questions I wanted to ask you.
Hmm.
And the first one I wanted to ask is actually, how do you personally use social media and other online platforms to promote your work and connect with your potential customers?
Without social media these days,
Mhm.
would be impossible to function for any artist, I think. Finding the social platform which is really in line with your vision, which is really can deliver what you're asking for from it, is very, very difficult and important. And in fact, I'm happy to work with BoldBrush, because it is looks like very easy to use that platform, which allows me also connect to different other platform, just posting the links over there, and everything beautifully organized in that web page, which I'm using right now. In fact, during the COVID, before the COVID, Marina told me, Marina is my wife, and she is actually taking care of this, what you're asking me. So questions about promotions and social media. And you won't believe it, before the COVID, she said, hey, have a look at this company, it's called Zoom. And I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of, okay, I will someday. Now, during the COVID, Zoom is everything. And it's actually really was so important to deliver the content, classes, information on Zoom, just to get together, which is absolutely was impossible to do 10 years ago with such an ease. And right now we are talking using Zoom as well.
Yes.
And that is just a testament that we are moving into new realm, which is impossible to ignore social media at all. And that's how people actually find out. I'm so glad that we have social media. In fact, because before that, I was just thinking, what would a talented person, an artist, sculptor, poet, to deliver product for the wide audience, and it was next to impossible. And right now it's so easy, it's just unbelievable. The progress which was made during this last 5 years is unprecedented.
Yes. Yeah, it's all thanks to the internet connecting everyone. And of course, you have a lot of online courses, and you actually, I saw that you have your own school, which you have your mentorship and you have your online students, and I think that is so amazing. Which it's great to reach out to people abroad and to meet people from everywhere. I mean, it's kind of like you and me right now. We're completely different countries, and we can still have a conversation about painting and about
Which is
all of these.
amazing, absolutely right.
Yes, yeah, and I'm so grateful for Zoom. I know the pandemic was terrible, but Zoom definitely, I also used Zoom during the pandemic to take classes and to complete my education, and of course, Instagram and all of these things to continue to research and to, find that inspiration that, helps you grow, which of course your Instagram page is huge. You have tons and tons of followers, and with great reason too, because you have gorgeous work on there, which I totally recommend our listeners and the people watching us to go check it out because wow, it is definitely
Because
a place where everyone can be inspired.
this YeliseyevFineArt.com right behind me, you can see it. That is where, if anybody wants, can find every information on about me and my classes. Also, I'm using Vimeo, by the way. That's another platform which is connected to YeliseyevFineArt.com, and the Vimeo has all my recordings. Almost everything I have done online teaching recorded in a great quality, and it's posted over there. So if somebody is interested, you can go 5 year or five, maybe, I don't know when it started, 5 years behind, and find the video to their liking.
Wow, that is awesome. I'm gonna go check it
It,
out. And of
it
course,
was
all of those
impossible to
links.
do before, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And of course, I will include all of these links in the show notes so anyone can just go check out the show notes and go click over there while we're still chatting. At BoldBrush, we inspire artists to inspire the world because creating art creates magic, and the world is currently in desperate need of magic. BoldBrush provides artists with free art marketing, creativity, and business ideas and information. This show is an example. We also offer written resources, articles, and a free monthly art contest open to all visual artists. We believe that fortune favors the bold brush. And if you believe that too, sign up completely free at boldbrushshow.com. That's BoldBrush show.com. The Bold Brush Show is sponsored by FASO. Now more than ever, it's crucial to have a website when you're an artist, especially if you want to be a professional in your career. Thankfully, with our special link, faso.com/podcast, you can make that come true and also get over 50% off your first year on your artist website. Yes, that's basically the price of 12 lattes in 1 year, which I think is a really great deal considering that you get sleek and beautiful website templates that are also mobile friendly, e commerce, print on demand in certain countries, as well as access to our marketing center that has our brand new art marketing calendar. And the art marketing calendar is something that you won't get with our competitor. The art marketing calendar gives you day by day, step by step guides on what you should be doing today, right now, in order to get your artwork out there and seen by the right eyes so that you can make more sales this year. So, if you want to change your life and actually meet your sales goal this year, then start now by going to our special link, faso.com/podcast. That's faso.com/podcast. But wow, yeah. And then aside from, reaching out to people outside of where you live, I was wondering because your school is also based, around where you live. Is it a physical location or is it just your studio?
We opened the art school
Hmm.
in Sarasota. It's called Renaissance School of Art. The idea was that I realized looking around that young people craving to find a good education, and it's actually hard to come by with the myriads of studios, etc., etc. I decided that I can bring on the table something which I was actually taught. And we're again talking about the drawing. It started as my ideas about to help young people to draw correctly. And it was quite successful then. And then I had classes with painting because it was expanded. And then I realized that I can help now adults and students to see colors better. In fact, there was an article in Plein magazine which just came out. It's called Primaries in Watercolor. And it just was like January issue, and that I come up with an idea in that school with a theory how to simplify this whole process dealing with colors. And so it was growing, 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 and then it's all stopped because I had to start to travel. I started to travel, participating in paint outs all over America and internationally. I started to teach, and I could no longer attend as much as I wanted to my students. So we decided to close it. And then at the same time, we decided the alternative way would be social media, in fact. And so it continues now as a Renaissance School of Art. It's just online, so to speak. So basically, I think it's easier for people also to get in touch with me because you don't have to really buy airline tickets. You don't have to rent, a car. You don't have to rent a place, a hotel over there. And you just from the comfort of your studio, you can participate with me in very, very interesting activities as well. I can teach same things on Zoom and in person. In person, the difference only, of course, and I just came back like 2 days ago, I was teaching, is that when I teach, I walk around, I look what you do, and I point my finger exactly to the place in your painting, and say, we need to change this, or this is great, or needs to be improved, or just you need to finish this area. And that is a Zoom hard to do because you don't see naturally what they do. But we do most of the time critique after the session.
Yes.
So people can
Yeah.
show their work, send it to me by email, and I can share it with everybody. I can even draw with special tools, right, on Zoom, right on top of them, on their paintings, without touching them, of course, physically, and point to certain areas. And this is extremely effective educational methods, which I have no intention to stop.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, because I saw that your school, it was physical at one point, and then when I checked, it looked like it was mostly online, which I
It's
completely agree. I think
Yeah,
Zoom
Laura, we were
has
trying to keep it alive. We were finding teachers, we were hiring teachers, but then seeing what they teach, sometimes I said, you know what,
Mm.
it's probably not what I want my students to learn. And so,
Yeah.
or there are many, many nuances over there. So, and
Yeah,
the
no,
rent and this and that. It's a lot of energy of yours going into areas when you run physical school. I'd
yeah,
rather want to paint,
yes, yeah. I
instead
was
of
gonna
like
say,
cleaning
yeah.
and
Yeah,
parking
cleaning
this
and
and all.
all of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's so much more comfortable. And also for the people themselves, like you were saying, they're saving on gas, they're saving on trips, they're saving on hotel, they're saving on a lot of other things they can actually just put into, buying the course, of course, and also in buying materials and being able to, set something up for
Right.
themselves, which is a lot more
And
comfortable.
and when we're talking about face-by-face teaching, like in hand teaching, that travel and still stays. So we travel different countries, and that's in person, of course, and
Mm.
that is not Sarasota Art School wouldn't be able to deliver, or Zoom is not able to deliver. So this is very important for us to continue travel in different countries
Yes,
with the
and then on top of
students.
that, yeah, and to top that off though, if you still have your students, you can still travel, right? And still talk to your online students at the same time. So there's a really nice balance where you don't feel like you're just stuck to one place and you can't go. So that's wonderful.
That is absolutely correct, Laura. Yes.
Yes.
Being
Um,
being open and being open your box and get out from your box and have open opportunities is very important for us. So we're always looking for the new venues and how to deliver them. In fact, the funny thing is that we are going soon, and I couldn't believe myself. We have on the Mediterranean cruise.
oh, that's so
So
cool.
yeah, I'm getting students for Mediterranean cruise, Italian Riviera and France, and that is on celebrity cruise. Yes,
Ooh.
I know, but we already experienced because in this area, because we 6 years ago we were on the cruise and we went to Havana when it was
Oh,
open.
yeah.
That's right. You stay on a
Wow.
boat, you have everything there, and then you venture into the town and paint there. That was
Oh,
amazing trip. I still remember that. Then the Havana closed, of course, and no cruises now going there.
yeah.
But that was very, very interesting for us.
Yeah, especially architecturally and of course, like you were saying earlier with the light, right? The way that the light just behaves with the buildings there because of course those buildings are they have their charm and they have their style that is very particular to Havana. I've only been able to see pictures, of course, but I can only imagine
Oh,
how wonderful it is to capture that
it's
in painting.
amazing. It
Mhm.
used to be amazing city. You could tell now it's in despair,
Yeah.
but the architecture is second to none, Laura. So if any time it will be open, jump into this window and just have a look at Havana because it's amazing town, a city
Yeah.
or town. I don't know what to call it, and you would be amazed just to look at the. I always say it's like if it's a family and the mama would be Paris and the papa would be, I don't know, maybe uh, a Spanish city. That would be their child.
Yeah.
It's like it's weird. It's
Wow.
weirdly beautiful. And for us,
Mhm.
because it's in despair, it's actually very interesting to paint. You
Yeah.
know this old paintings like ruins of
Mhm.
masters. We're talking about 16th, 17th centuries. They were painting ruins and despair and there's columns. So like we're talking about Roman and Greek sceneries,
Yeah.
but that is now what's going on in Havana. So it's very
Yeah.
good for you to paint. And if I know that photographers like the Havana backgrounds for their art too. That's
Yeah.
so weird, interesting it is.
It is,
So
yeah.
Mediterranean cruise, I hope it won't disappoint. It's like has 9 stops, and we're going to paint a lot.
Wow. That sounds incredible. That sounds
I hope
like
to get
oh,
inspiration there.
oh
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you will. Those are all gorgeous, gorgeous areas, especially if you're gonna be in any part of Italy, really, or any part of, the Riviera. There are a lot of those beautiful little alleyways and a lot of those little picturesque or characteristic spots outside, of course, of the typical touristy areas. I actually wanted to ask you, do you have a favorite place that you've been to that you've painted?
Uh, to this day, to this day, that changes all the time. But to this day, I took again, you won't believe it. Marina just drags me onto these boats and takes me all over the world. And the latest, weirdly amusing, absolutely stunning place I was in Cartagena, Colombia.
Really?
I know, yes, I couldn't believe it. On a boat, people told me, don't go outside, it's dangerous. I said, I'm going no matter what. I took a cab. I went to the Cartagena, which is about 15 minutes drive from the airport, from the port, seaport. And then what I saw over there was mind-blowing. It's absolutely gorgeous, safe, gorgeous, colorful flowers everywhere, impeccably restored buildings. It is in an old walled city, and I'm got so many inspirations. All I did for the next month is painted Cartagena. That's it.
Wow.
I painted over there plein air too.
Wow, that's awesome. I forgot to mention this, but I'm actually from Colombia. So when you said that, I was like very surprised because I went to Cartagena when I was a very little girl, and I remember it being such a beautiful old style city, especially the fortress. The fortress is
Yes, that's what I'm
absolutely
talking
gorgeous.
about. Yeah,
Yes.
the world. Yeah. So if you will have a chance, visit again, and you will. It's. I don't know what it used to be, but it's still beautiful. The life's thriving over there. Lots of young
Yeah.
people from Europe, from America over there. Hotels, lots of services. People selling fruit and vegetables right on the streets, and it looks amazingly fresh. And it's so plenty. You're like in a paradise. That's my
Yes.
impression of the place.
It is, yeah, you're actually making me feel pretty homesick. Cartagena isn't my hometown, I'm actually
I'm
from
sorry,
further inland. Oh, it's
Laura. I am
okay,
so
it's
sorry.
okay. It's
Okay,
making me
and
wanna
being
go
now,
visit.
and now you are in the northern city,
Yes, in
Laura.
Norway,
Okay,
total
in Norway,
opposite.
right? And
Yes.
that is absolutely opposite, I guess, right? Okay.
Yes, yeah, I mostly grew up in the tropics, so it's a little bit different up here for sure. But wow, that is amazing. It's so cool that also, with all of your traveling, you get to really capture all of these different places, and every place has its own personality and its own, and just like you said, the sun just hits different in each place. And I feel the same way whenever I visit places.
You know that in St. Petersburg Academy of Art before Revolution, the Tsars,
Mhm.
they were very big patrons of arts, buying art, collecting it, and they had
Yeah.
Hermitage in it. And so in St. Petersburg right now, and they in every year the gold medalists from St. Petersburg Academy of Art, they were sent for 5 years to Italy, study old masters and paint there. Every single expense taken care of.
Oh, that's amazing.
Everything, paints, canvases, food, lodging, traveling, everything. That's how old times Tsars could understand the importance of that and being the
Yeah.
huge patrons of that. That is still amazes me when I'm thinking about it. We don't have that this time. Now we're on our own, but
Yeah.
thanks to you guys, we're getting a great help, by the way.
Yes. Yes. And also, that also brings up the importance of, travel, especially as an artist, to really broaden your horizons. I know not everyone can travel, and thankfully, like, we were mentioning, there's Zoom, which makes things a lot easier. But I think for anyone out there, traveling and seeing the world and getting inspired by it is so important, especially Italy, actually. Since
Yes,
Italy is it's such a cradle of art, and has been for such a long time.
that's
Um,
right. That's right, Laura. Yes, it's very,
yes.
very, very interesting. Province in France and Italy is yeah, it is our foundational areas where probably we can learn a lot from the painters, from the history, from the architecture, and that is important to do. The only thing which is hard for me now is just I've been there so many times. I need to explore different places, and
Yes.
Cartagena is one of them.
Yes, yeah, and the world is quite big, so you have a lot of places you could go anyway. I mean, you can't really see the whole world in one lifetime anyway, so but
Yeah,
yeah,
well, there are
so
many
I want
countries I didn't go, but I hope to see it in the future.
yes, definitely. And I guess I wanted to ask you, Is there a common mistake that you feel many artists make, especially when they're trying to become a living artist, someone who lives from their work? What mistake do you think is the most common that you've seen?
Mistake of copying somebody. We already touched this subject, and
Yeah.
I see that it's a very common for the artists to like somebody and then trying to be that person, which is a huge mistake. First of all, I think we lost another painter because we lost your personality already, which probably would be developing. And that's a kind of, I feel, is marching in the wrong direction. Also paying attention too much to the form of presentation versus versus expressing the depths of it
Hmm.
in any form, copying or not. That is also a big mistake. That will come naturally one more time. Or jumping too much into decorative aspect of visual arts because it's a totally different profession. Decorative art and fine art, despite we're using same instruments, it is two different activities and they have different target, different approaches, different business model, by the way, too, of selling art.
Yeah.
So I would say that is, I would say, number one mistake. And of course, thinking that you learned everything and you just need to paint and sell, that notion is also wrong because you're always learning. And should be a portion of work which is sort of experimental and designed just to increase your level of mastery. And that is ignored most of the time. Again, exploitation of already found some techniques and or presentation forms is a big stopper in developing of everybody's who is trying to get better. I would say that is needs to be
Yes.
taken care of and having a hard look onto that kind of things.
Wow. Yes. That is very true, it's very easy for us to get comfortable, with just doing the same thing over and over.
Mhm.
And it becomes, especially when you're working, for example, with galleries, they have a certain expectation of what the artist should be taking to them,
Yes.
versus, allowing yourself that experimentation and to make mistakes. I feel like so many of us, we have this internal fear that every single painting should be a masterpiece instead of just remembering that it's supposed to be, an exercise. It's supposed to be an exploration.
You always strive for the masterpiece, but you
Mm.
don't really design the masterpiece. So it's got to be happen naturally. So if it's in fact, the best work I've done, there was experimental work. It just happens to be really great, even in my eyes. I'm like, wow, that looks really not bad because it feels there is a freedom over there of execution. Tightness is gone because it's experimental. And so for yourself, you didn't really design it for the exhibition or anything. And there is that freedom and immediacy somehow translate into interesting work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. I would love for you to say all of that again just so I could hear it again because it is so wise. It's so true. There is a liberation that happens when you experiment. There is, like the psyche just breaks free from all of these constricting, rules that we place upon it arbitrarily, right? Like, oh, the gallery
Mhm,
wants a portrait. So you do a portrait
mhm,
versus one morning you wake up and you see a person and you say, huh, there's something I want to capture there, right? That's very different. Those are two very different approaches. One feels
mhm,
like a job, the other one feels
mhm.
like almost like a celebration of the capturing of life and the essence of life, which is a lot more
Very well said,
beautiful.
Laura. Yes. Mhm,
Thank you. So I wanted to ask you, how can
mhm.
someone become one of your students?
You can contact us at yeliseyevfineart.com over there. There is a contact information and have a look at our schedule and just sign up. We have our materials list there, everything is there. But before you will become a student, you might just want to purchase a small workshop or even paint along. That was something we are doing all the time. or paint along. Yeah, every week we now don't do that. I travel again. I'll come back because it's 4 sessions in a month, every Sunday, and just have a look and see, do you really like what I do? Because I have very, I think, specific mindset about what needs to be done, why it needs to be done, and what to try to achieve in the work. Again, commercial aspect of my work is last probably item in my checklist when I do something. I'd rather do something which is natural and which is moves me, as we talk about it already. And then I hope for the best results. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it's not. So when you will become my student, it's going to be a lot of learning experience. By the way, it's not just and those are workshops. And if you would like to paint along with me, those paint alongs we will continue in I think it's going to be in July. We'll continue this, and it's very affordable, very relaxed sort of venue where anybody can just try, and see how do they like it. So that's how it is. And so again, using social media, it's very easy to get together. And if all it requires is desire on the part of the students to become one, and it's really easy. Everything designed on that website, YeliseyeFineArt.com, which is run by BoldBrush, by the way. Everything designed to make it really, really easy for the people to get in touch.
Yes, I completely agree. It is extremely easy. And of course, it showcases your work absolutely beautifully.
One more time you say that, Laura, I'm going to start blushing. Then you will see my face very red. Then you will
Aw.
need to edit me out for this. I'm just kidding. It's
No.
okay. Thank you, Laura, very much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, your work is absolutely gorgeous. So I actually
Thank
want to
you.
go back to your website and just look at them because it is so inspiring. That's the other side of seeing someone who works in the way that you do. Works from a place of exploration, but also that balance of technique and trying to capture things. Is that it's inspiring to look at. It's not just beautiful. It's like, oh, wow, this is so refreshing.
In fact, many
I
students, they told me that after the workshops that they are having desire to paint again. And I said, then that's what it's all about. And also on the workshops, I always say that it's the last thing on my mind. So you would leave the workshop 2, 3, 4 days with a beautiful painting. The first and most important thing that you live with the next level of mastery, and that's what I design my workshops about this, to make you a better painter than you were before. Because the next time you alone in your studio, the workshop is over, you have to be able to do something better without me on your back, looking over your shoulder and telling you what to do. And that's what everything is designed on my part. So to really to educate painters in very important aspects of their development, I look for individually for every one of them and work with them individually, just to be just the next step, from that step to next step. In fact, I just read about Lev Vygotsky, when I was talking about this before workshop, one lady next day put papers she printed out on my table in the morning, second workshop. It was about Lev Vygotsky, and he had a theory about what his teaching is all about. And it says that the peers, it's mostly for children, but it's actually also related to us, that the teacher should understand the student and deliver just enough information right beyond their current capabilities in order for them to make a progress. And that's what actually I was, without even knowing that guy. He died already. It was like we're talking about 19th, 20th century educator. And that's what I was doing all along, actually, without even knowing. And then I'm like, oh, now I know what I'm doing. Okay, all right. At least I know there's somebody already wrote papers about it, and it's called the method of scaffolding. If you will Google it, you will probably find out more about educational process, which in my opinion, is very important, because I teach a lot, so much that the worst thing, I think, I'm going to be gone, and all my knowledge will go away. In fact, if you think about it, I started my education when I was 12, and now I'm 63. We're talking about 50 years in arts. That is crazy.
Wow.
When I start thinking about it, I'm like, that is crazy amount of art work and art
Yes.
education in my life. So everything was around, all about and around that. Even architectural work, because architects, we know it's an art in
It
part.
is.
So very important.
Yeah. Wow. That's such a great point, that, the scaffolding thing, right? Where like you have to, bring the student to this level before you can take them to this level, and then this level, of
Exactly.
helping
Yes.
them. Yeah, because of course, like you just said, one day you won't be there, and you're not going to be in their studio. You're not going to be holding their hand for every painting. So they need to figure things out on their own. And I think it's wonderful that you build your program in that way, because there's there's nothing better than to give someone that freedom to continue on their path, without the hand holding and without having to be there. That's awesome.
In fact, I'm writing a book right now, and a couple
Oh,
of the articles I sent to magazines, they were printed immediately. One is Plein magazine, another watercolor artist, which printed in December, and I have 38 more to publish.
oh
So,
my gosh.
that is kind of, it's time for me to sit down and write something. So, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well, let me know when you write it, because I will buy a copy. It sounds like it would be full of absolutely wonderful information. Um, so do you mind telling us where people can find more of your work? Do you have a gallery that you use?
Galleries, I don't involve that much anymore,
Mm.
because I'm not gonna just, it's just, I found that from my website, yeliseyevfineart.com, it works much better. Uh, Everybody can have a look. The prices are, you need to triple the price for the same art to get in the gallery. And that is kind of sensitive for people who would like to have something.
Mm.
Just off the bat, I say we do not sell no prints, it's only originals. But we do every year print calendars. And that include 12 or more, maybe 14 works, which could be obtainable. You can obtain from the website. We're out now for this year, so next year will be again, and that is the only printed material we sell. So also me and Rosemary brushes, if you know them. They're in England, not far from you, by the way, Laura.
No.
We developed a set of brushes for watercolorists, and you can also find them on my website. So there are different brushes. People love them, and all the time they're out of stock. But now we're going to get a new batch, my friends, finally. So last workshop I traveled with just a few, because everything is gone.
Oh,
So on that website, yeliseyevfineart.com, there is really a lot of information, very nicely systemized everything, very easy to find everything, and then from there you can. Now galleries. I had two galleries in my town in Sarasota at one time, which is illegal, but we're talking about, it's very rare because
it
they
is.
compete, but it just happens that way. But the galleries now are come and go. The galleries I noticed now, they have more like a decorative stuff, because people now buying properties. Sarasota
Yeah.
become very successful, very popular in destination. We have lots of new buildings, condos building up in downtown, and people, of course, would like to decorate them. And I think the galleries, if you go to the gallery in Sarasota, it's a really good place to find the work you like. But again, how people would like say on my left, right, to find that work, how would they see it in their interior design? I'm not sure. I knew that Mona Lisa was once hung in the bathroom of one king, but that is probably was very highly educated king. So to hang Mona Lisa over there,
Yeah.
so I don't know. If I would do more commercial work, like decorative artwork, I would probably had a lot of galleries, but I don't see the reason. I have one in Easton. It's called Troika. Wonderful gallery, by the way. Very good art over there, and we work with them. But more than one, I just these two galleries in Sarasota, they closed now. They're
Mm.
in their place, different galleries, and just to keep going and renewing contracts with every gallery you want is actually, I find it pointless. And most important, I really would like to have time to actually paint. I paint, I scan the painting, I post it on my YeliseyeVFineArt.com website, and I'm done. I'm moving on to something else. Galleries, and I'm all teaching galleries, and this it's also a lot of work,
Yes.
framing this and that, and so yeah. So
Yeah, and
galleries,
deadlines.
yeah, galleries they are, but again, they're big no's right now. You see what I mean? In fact, that's what I actually they told us at the architectural school. They said,
Mm.
"Hey, kids, right?
Yeah.
They said something you need to know about arts. There are really three areas in arts where humans involved traditionally, historically, during their development. One is craft, another decorative art, and the last one, fine art. And they said the fine art, basically, if you think about, nobody needs, because it's not easy to decorate your housing and dwelling with this kind of art. It might end up in a museum after you die, we know that, but before that, you are being designated a starving poor artist. And if we look in the history of art, Laura,
Mhm.
have a look in the history of art. From the all great masters, we probably know three or four who were well. The rest were really in need for food, even.
Yes.
So impressionists were sometimes traded their paintings for the lunch, and
Yeah.
it's written. And you can imagine having now this painting. I would trade my lunch for impressionist painting one day. So it's kind of that things which gives you what I think what education gives you. It's a perspective, insight into why you are here, what you are doing, what to expect, and that gives you ability to sort of live within that framework, and you will be able to kind of like structure your next move, which is wisely, without any extra, expectations, unrealistic ones especially. And that is also a problem. People just want to everything and now, as opposed to just slowly going in the right direction and never give up. That is very important, by the way, for beginner painters to uh, to sort of know what you want and just march in that direction. That is really important without going sideways. So kind of like
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's very true. There is a big difference, today. I think, a lot of people, I would also blame social media. That everyone is just so focused on the instant gratification, and everything just seems like it's going faster and faster, and there's like this pressure, this social pressure almost to, oh, you have to post this painting, and oh, but my paintings take long, like there's this almost like disconnection that's happening between the real slow life that takes its time. You plant a seed one day and it's not gonna grow until, gosh, a whole season, right? So I feel like,
yeah,
yeah, the type of painting that you do and the type of painting that, is successful is definitely the slow growing type. So,
slow,
yes.
exactly, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Vlad, for your amazing advice and wisdom. I'm so happy that you were on the show and that you were able to give us some of your precious time, because I know you're quite busy, to hang out with us and to tell us all about your amazing work.
Thank you, Laura. And again, I repeat, it's a pleasure being here with you. I think that these conversations are very important, and I
Yes.
would like and I hope to do it again sometimes in the near future.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. And go visit Cartagena. You won't regret it.
Yes, I have to go back.
And take your boyfriend there.
I will.
Okay.